All right, we are now joined on the Sharks Audio Network by the man behind hockey psychology, Anthony Loduca. Anthony, what's going on, man? How are you doing?
Fantastic Olympic hockey zone. Just saw the Slovaks pull off an upset. So, I mean, who knows? Who knows what we're going to see in this tournament? I'm excited.
I've been telling people who are not huge hockey fans but are interested that, in my opinion, this might be the best international competition in all sports that we've seen in a very, very long time. And I'm not trying to knock the World Cup or anything of soccer, but now because it's a little bit more opened up, they've widened the entries and more teams are competing. I think that the condensed nature of this tournament, with the fact it's the first time the NHL has been able to take part in 12 years, with what we saw at Four Nations last year, I think we are in for a treat. Do I sound crazy to you?
No. I'm the exact same. I even just watching that first game, just the speed of the entire tournament. We saw a glimpse of it with the Four Nations, but
Mm-hmm.
I think with obviously there's some different rules. You can't fight and all that stuff, but it was still just as physical. The forechecking was amazing. The speed was top notch, and it's just a preliminary game. So I'm very excited to see what is going to happen and who's going to shine. Like we had Slavkovsky score 2 goals, and he was an empty net away from a hat trick. But it's like certain stories like that, and I think I can't remember the goalie's name off the top of my head right now. But Slovakia's goalie stood on his head too. He stopped 38 shots and 38 saves on 39 shots. So just like those little things in a storyline in a tournament like this, it's a one game do or die. Obviously not right now, but when it gets to those moments, so anything can happen.
I know that here in the States, it feels like the transition has happened to where they used to make the big storyline of the Olympic Games. I've said that for most of my life, because I was born in 82, and it's always been the Olympic figure skating, particularly the women's singles. But I do feel like NBC has been hitting the promotions for the hockey side of things more than anything else, because this is the NHL's first involvement in 12 years, right? And there's just so many big young stars that are taking place, as well as established stars who have been part of the story of hockey for the last 2 decades. What is the reaction at this point in Canada like? Because I know, as we riffed upon before we started recording 12 years ago, Canada was all over it in a way that only Canada could be all over this. And you riffed on, the country shutting down for games, kind of like they do in England when the World Cup is going. Is that same vibe there for you? And is it maybe even bigger this time?
Yeah, at least from what I remember, I was young when the last Olympics happened in 2014. But yeah, like I was saying off camera, uh, at least Toronto was planning on shutting down bars, or not shutting down bars, opening up bars at 6 a.m. so that people can have a couple of drinks while watching the gold medal game if they get there. But the hype is always crazy in Canada. Biggest thing right now, which is funny because it's not a big deal, but a lot of the teams you'll see are having like closed door practices. So everyone in Canada is kind of like, oh, what's going on? But then other countries are following suit now. So it's just a testament to how big it gets and how little things of like practice coverage and seeing Celebrini on a line with McDavid and Wilson, and how that's a big deal, and how everyone's talking about who's McDavid's going to play with and why is Crosby a third line center. All those little things, which could be totally thrown out the window after the first game.
Right.
But just because it's Canada, the pressure's enormous. Everyone's just excited to see best on best. Like this crop of players in their prime together. We saw a glimpse, obviously, last year, but like this is the Olympics.
Mhm.
So, everyone's been dying to see this exact moment. And yeah, the hype in Canada is off the charts.
I was talking with Jack Michaels, the broadcaster for the Oilers, about this about a week and a half ago, about how I feel like this Canada team right now, Team Canada, is as close to a dream team as I think we're ever going to get, just because you do have the multi-generational aspect of Crosby and McKinnon and McDavid and Celebrini, and just the forward grouping is so strong. And I know that arguments can be made about the defensemen and the goalies not being as strong as what's maybe on, the American side of things, but I don't know. Has the term dream team been tossed around just because of the forward groupings that are there? I mean, it's an absurd collection of talent when you've seen these reports on the lines and the power plays. It's like it kind of breaks your brain.
Yeah, I haven't heard the term dream team, at least here yet. Um, but I think if they go on a run and they're undefeated or something like that, you'll probably hear that term. Um, but I think just having that crop of like Crosby, Celebrini, McKinnon, McDavid, McCarr, all these players in the prime is just so exciting to see.
Mhm.
Obviously, get to the goaltending, which is the biggest topic. You talk about things and hype around Canada. That is probably the biggest topic, even though Binnington, had a good tournament last year. He's statistically one of the worst goalies this year, so that's a big talking point. Logan Thompson is, he's playing really well, but again, not unproven. But we haven't seen him in these types of situations. So it's exciting. I don't know what's going to happen. I think I said on the channel when we did an Olympic preview, I actually do think Team USA is going to win this tournament. As a Canadian, it's hard to say. Like, my heart says Canada. I want Canada, but I think Team USA will find a way to win. And I think there's a couple of reasons for that. I think the players, they said that the rink size doesn't matter or won't play a factor, but it's going to play a factor. Even seeing in today's game too, in the neutral zone, you see a lot of like little chip-ins. There's really no nonsense in the neutral zone because it's 3 feet shorter there. That's where they took the space. So I think a team like Team USA is really going to thrive in that sort of type of game, and Canada can thrive in it too. But I think people forget last year, Team USA was missing Quinn Hughes.
Yeah.
And that's a big loss for a team. And then you add Hughes into the mix. I think even in that gold medal game, Team USA kind of not outplayed, but they had a little bit more offensive zone time than Team Canada, and Binnington bailed them out. So it's going to be very very interesting to see.
I want to segue to Celebrini, but I'll use it by some of the talking points that I keep on hearing people say. Do you think that Macklin is at the point where he can use this tournament as a recruitment process to try and convince guys to come to the Sharks, or tell other people that the Sharks is a destination now? We're a little bit biased here in San Jose because we're right here in the thick of it, but I don't know. Maybe that isn't as crazy as it sounds from an outsider's perspective.
No, I mean, you are talking to a Leafs fan, I guess. So Mitch Marner was a real big touch point last year when he went to Vegas, because apparently that whole situation there, he was getting to know Mark Stone, playing with those guys. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. But I think you already see it with the top players in the world. They want to play with Macklin Celebrini.
Mm-hmm.
Like Crosby, I think there was a report, I can't remember who was the coach in the summer for Team Canada, but Crosby requested to play with Celebrini. And I think, Celebrini is already making his way into the top 6. He's got a play style that can really fit up and down the lineup, even at 19. So you can put him in any situation. I think him on a top line with McDavid and Wilson is actually a really good fit. Just because when you look at, when McDavid has had success, you kind of look at the play styles of who he's with. You got Hyman, who's more of a forechecking style player, gets in front of the net, can create turnovers in that sense, and Tom Wilson really fits that mold. And Nugent Hopkins, who usually plays with him if Draisaitl's not playing with him, Celebrini fits that mold too. And I think Celebrini has obviously a higher ceiling and a little bit of a higher talent level than Nugent Hopkins.
I know that you've obviously done videos about Macklin Celebrini, and you get a lot of engagement whenever you take on the younger talents. But with the way that Macklin Celebrini has continued to elevate his game this year, has it continued to surprise you even when you had previously highlighted him and talked about what was coming? Has the continued production while not being on a great team been surprising to you, or has this continued string of success that he's had from start to where we are now at the Olympic break, is this maybe what you were expecting to come once he got rolling at the start of the season?
Yeah, I'd be a total liar if I said I expected him to be this good. Like, I didn't expect him to be top 3, top 5 scorer in the NHL this quickly, and then also have the complete game that he has at his age. I think at least he surprised me a ton this season. I think he surprised a lot of people around the league too. And I think that's why he's on Team Canada. You look at the contrast between him and Bedard, and they just wanted to go with a more complete sort of versatile package player that they felt can play in any situation. Mm-hmm. Celebrini fits that mold.
Watching Macklin, and if he does drag the Sharks into the playoffs, Do you think that has him right there in the conversation as the MVP? Because, again, I'm in it. I see it up close, but I hear the MVP chants. Is that something that should be considered for a team that's, probably at best going to be able to sneak in as a wild card unless something drastically changes?
I mean, I saw Taylor Hall win it. I can't remember what year I think it's 2018, 2017, one of those years.
Yeah.
And Taylor Hall was, he carried the Devils into the playoffs that year. I think if a winger can win it and have that sort of impact on a team that might not be as strong, where surrounding cast isn't as strong, I think it all depends on what your term is for a most valuable player. I mean, Kucherov's having a fantastic year too. Obviously, McDavid, McKinnon, but given the talent surrounding him and how young he is, I think he should be right there. And if he brings them into the playoffs and has a really strong second half, I think there's a good argument.
You've done some great videos lately about multiple aspects about wild this NHL season is, whether it's, Florida being a part of the fray again, another Florida problem, as you like to say, with Tampa showing themselves, the emotion we've seen on display, the competitive balance, as Gary Bettman wants me to say, and not parity. But what is the storyline that is really drawing you in the most as you've seen this wild NHL season unfold? Because we've seen, the trade involving the Wild with Quinn Hughes. I don't think we all saw that one coming. I mean, there have just been so many storylines that are culminating into a race for the postseason, especially in the West, that I have no idea what's going to happen. But where are you most drawn right now?
Yeah, I think I don't know if this is the most interesting to me, but I think the biggest one is obviously with the Olympic schedule is injuries. Injuries have played a big part in, certain teams having good years, having off years. You just look at the Panthers, and they haven't had obviously back-to-back champs. They haven't had a great season at all, and I think they're 10 points out right now. They've been decimated by injuries. Missing Barkov right from the start of the year. Their goaltending hasn't been great. And then obviously you have, like you said, the parity. It seems like the Sabres, who are finally good again. That's good to see, which is I hope they make it in because it's been way too long since they haven't. And just, I think you see around the league with the condensed schedule that, guys are getting tired. They're probably playing through injuries just to play in these Olympics. So I think that's kind of been a contributing factor for where teams are right now in the standings. And we're going to see in the push for the playoffs who, decides they're going to maybe sit out or depending on how big of an injury they have during these Olympics, who sits out, who doesn't. And I think that's a real big point. And obviously you have, all the chaos going on with, just the drama of the league as a whole, like the whole Florida Tampa situation, the whole Gavin McKenna thing that happened the other day too, which is crazy. Like there's a whole bunch of things going on in the league right now. The NHL is on fire, which is fantastic. So it's great to watch.
No, it is great to watch. And I laugh at just the way that people get drawn in by the different storylines and things we weren't expecting. And, I wonder about the fact that there is so much parity, what you think that's going to do at the deadline, because that could mean that teams give up a whole hell of a lot because everyone is, conceived. I mean, if you look at the West, especially, like, keep on going back to this, like you have to get to the exact bottom to Vancouver to make like an argument of like, well, they're pretty much out of it. But then you go to Calgary and you think like, well, they go on a run and another team cools off. Like things change very, very quickly. So how do you think that is going to impact the deadline with, like you said, in conjunction that, injuries that are still a factor that have yet to happen either at the Olympics or that are still going to be a factor as we come out on the other side?
Yeah, everyone says it. I mean, there's so many teams that believe that they're still in it, right? Even if they're 6 or 8 points out of a playoff spot. I think the Sharks are 6 points out right now, correct? So
yeah, that sounds right.
5 or 6. So, the Sharks kind of somewhat bought getting Keefer Sherwood. So, I think that, depending on where they are and how they perform post-deadline, is that their only move just to see, do they want to give up more assets for a team that's maybe not ready to take that next step yet? Who knows? But there's a lot of teams caught in kind of that mushy middle. The Leafs are another team. Like they've been hurt by injuries too. And they're like, oh, we're selling. No, wait, who went on a win streak? No, we're buying now. Like it's all over the place. And I think post Olympic break, you're going to kind of see teams either go on a hot stretch or a cold stretch, and it'll become more apparent. And I think as there's going to be a lull in the first 1 to 2 weeks after Olympic hockey because it's such a high pace. There's so much physicality, so much intensity. So it'll kind of just be like preseason hockey for a bit, and then it'll start to ramp up. Kind of what happened last year at the Four Nations, I would think. But whatever teams catch fire, you'll start to see more teams kind of slide into the seller category, into the buyer category too.
How do you think, as a final one here, the NHL best capitalizes upon the Olympic boost? Because I feel like last year, Four Nations being juxtaposed with the NBA All-Star festivities was eye-opening, as everyone said, what is that? Like, this is terrible. I'm watching hockey. It's the best competition I've ever seen. I know that it's not going to be put together the same way, but I do feel that the NHL has a real opportunity. So in your mind, how do they best take advantage of this?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think there's only so many things that they can do in terms of like using, footage and all that stuff. But I think it's just a testament to how good the hockey is going to be, that people are going to see the product of hockey itself and automatically be gravitated towards the NHL and where to find these players and where can I watch Celebrini on any given night? What's Crosby doing? How is the oldest player going into the Olympics? How is he still this good? You have all the storylines between USA and Canada, and then even internationally as well between Sweden and Finland. And then you have other countries that are getting really good, like Germany and Slovakia, obviously that just pulled off the win today. So there's so many, and we've seen this with the World Juniors too. Countries are catching up.
Yeah.
And, is there a specific way the NHL can capitalize on it? I think it's just, bringing more attention to the game. This is what the players fought for in the bargaining agreements, especially McDavid. The players want to do best on best because it is the best way to grow the game.
Yeah.
And it's going to be so fun to watch. I'm super excited.
And actually, I lied before we finish here. Just if you can remind people the best way to go find your awesome content on YouTube.
Yeah, you can go find me at Hockey Psychology on YouTube. We do weekly breakdowns every Sunday, and then throughout the week, we also do player and team breakdowns. I know a lot of Sharks fans listen to this, so we have a lot of Sharks content on there. Celebrini is just giving me content for days, so you can find us there. And yeah.
Awesome. Well, Anthony, thank you so much, man. I appreciate your time as always, and I promise I'll bug you again soon, all right?
Sounds good, Ted. Thanks for having me.